Well, Happy New Year, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to this broadcast. Mark DeJesus here in the house. It's great to be here, everyone. We're going to hang out a bit tonight, and I will do some Q&A, do some updating, do some chatting, and a little bit of hanging out in my studio, if you don't mind. Some of you wrote to me or asked me and said, hey, when are you going to do the studio thing? I think it was, I had it on my phone. I think I did a live through my phone and just walked around my studio setup here and just took some time to do that. So I set some cameras up, so hopefully we can kind of do some hanging out here. I'll talk a little bit over there, a little bit over there, see what happens. If I'm sitting here, okay, and I'm wearing a different mic, so hopefully when I get up and walk, there won't be handling noise. It's gonna hit your ears and all that stuff. But when I'm sitting here, I'll do my best to look over at the questions. But when I'm up at different stations, I won't be able to see your questions. I won't be able to see them at all. So you'll have to put them in and hope for the right timing. If you put a super chat in, I got it up here on my screen. If you put a super chat in, that'll definitely grab my attention. I'll be able to see that. If you want to give me a cup of coffee tonight, that's up to you as well too. But I'm just glad to be here to share with you some great stuff in looking into 2023. I'm not exactly sure everywhere I'm going to go with this, but I'm excited about what I get to pour out my heart with and what I get to share in the coming year. And as I put in the comment section, you can let me see if I can make sure that you all can see it. I'm going to pin it. I put a link where you can put your vote in on which cover you'd like for my next book that is coming out. After much talk about it and much discussion, the book, and I'll put it up here on the screen, it is going to be called The OCD Healing Journey, Breaking Free from Obsessions and Compulsions. So I work with, and I've done this in the past, I've worked with 99 Designs. I think they're owned by another company now. But we get a bunch of graphic designers in on this, and here's a sampling of some of the top ones that have come in. You can go ahead and vote on it, put your 10 cents of what you think is one that you like, and this is a way for you to participate. So, the OCD Healing Journey, Breaking Free from Obsessions and Compulsions. It's happening. It's happening. And in these next weeks, I'm going to be working on the audiobook and be recording that. So pray for my voice and my energy levels. I'll tell you where I'm leaning, though. I'll tell you where I'm leaning. I'm leaning on the book cover right here in this one that I got up on the screen. I'm really leaning towards that one. And I'll tell you why. I feel it, and as soon as I looked at it, I was gripped by the feeling of it. That's the first thing. And number two, what I want to do is I actually want to put myself in there, standing, looking out. And because so much of what the OCD healing journey is about is not only the journey of what we all have to begin to learn, but it's really flown out of my journey. And so this is a very, very personal book. It's a very personal journey. It's blood, sweat, and tears in this for sure. But there's some other ones here. Check out. You put your vote in. You can comment. You don't have to comment. You can just put in your stars or whatever, and share which ones you like. From here, I can also do tons of alterations. I'm really at the point where I'm picking my designers, and so you can see here. In the next phase this week, we'll go into. So I'll take into consideration your feedback and what you guys think and what appeals to you. And so I'm excited about that. So anyways, what else do I have going on? Oh, I did a broadcast this past Thursday about questions that are important to ask when you're going into a new season, new year, but really it's about rebooting your mental health. What does it look like to reboot your mental health in a way that is fruitful, in a way that will help you navigate? And so I advise all of you, get a hold of those questions, work through those things. I will do my best, like I said, to glance over at the comments. If you're drowning spinning, I don't know necessarily that I'll be rescuing everyone who's drowning and spinning. You need to get a hold of the resources. If you're new to the website, please, if you're new to this broadcast, click like and subscribe, and also go to markdejesus.com and sign up for our email newsletter. I don't email a lot, but I do, at least on a weekly basis, update you with resources, what's coming out, a little bit of what's happening in my life and my journey. If you want to support the broadcast and the materials, you can, right there at markdejesus.com, click on the donate button. That's where you can make donations to the ministry. If you want to just support the videos, there's a dollar sign thing right in the chat and the YouTube that you can support in that way too, whichever you like. But regardless, it's great for me to be able to be here and to share with you. So I see a lot of people. You guys are like ready to rock and roll today. Before I even got into the chat, I saw a bunch of people chatting and talking. So welcome everyone. Welcome, Lucas, Shelley, Reality is Best, Spizzle, Alicia, Lucas the Prussian. I feel like I need to salute you. I don't know, just a very official name. Margaret, what's going on? Mary, welcome. First time, welcome. Do you have any comments on ministry PTSD? Yes, lots of comments. I have endless comments on that subject, especially because of my own experience. Colorful Thinker, Jennifer, what's going on? I'm trying to make sure. Jess N, Shannon, Raven, Austin, Turanga, Dave. You ain't my mama. You ain't my mama. Shannon, Tamara, Janata, here we go. Marianne, HS, Raven, Ryan, Katie, what's going on? Katie, I lost my place here. Yesterday was 75% good. Celebrate 75% good. That's what we got to do. David, what's going on? Jenny, Emmy from across the pond, welcome to you. Jennifer, hey! Will, Janata, you want me to talk about the painting behind me? Yes, hold on a second. Let me put everyone, I'll stick all the comments over there, I think, for now. I talked a little bit about the painting last time. When we moved here to Charlotte, let me get my wires out of the way here. When we moved to Charlotte, my wife was out shopping, and excuse me for a second, and we were looking at a store, and this just really struck me. Love this. And if you were in my video, watching my video last year, I had this up, and it was up there, and I had a bookshelf. These bookshelves were actually turned up, and that's where I kept a lot of my reading material I go through. And when we were going to the Christmas break, I said, you know what? I feel like I want to do a reboot. I'll show you over there what we're going to do with where I normally broadcast from. I'll show you what that looks like. I felt like I wanted to do something here. I wanted another like wood texture, but something that would really tie this room together. And I wanted to feature this. And to me, this picture speaks of not only the journey, but it speaks of what I feel that I can be for people's lives. Like I can't be a personal father to everyone. I can be a brother from another mother, but I can be a bridge. And I find that I've been a bridge to people's lives of where they are to where they're needing to go in their growth and in their journey. So when I saw that, you know how something just hits you when you see all that? So anyway, and then down low here are, these are my hymnals. I have a little collection of hymnals going on. Back in my youth pastoring and music pastoring days, I liked to collect them and then over here I got a bunch of Bibles. Over there is some research stuff on some of the topics I'm reading on and stuff, from trauma to spiritual abuse, church abuse. And then over here, those are the books that make me look smart. Big Strong's Concordance. And I don't know if you can, is that in the picture? No. No, it's out. It's out of the picture. This is stuff that I read that's pretty nerdy. This is what psychology uses as a base manual. It's what they use to talk about mental health issues. And so I read I read through it, and anytime I mention it when I'm talking to a psychologist, or I've met many mental health workers, they go, "Wait, what, you read that?" I go, "Yeah, it's interesting." And when I read these things, God has a way of bringing out certain words and phrases that go, interesting that those, because this is really a documentation of how people, the patterns that we live in. And there's a reason why we do the things we do, and why we do the things we don't do, why we, you know what I'm saying. So anyways, let me put that over there for a second. So, yeah, so that's what's going on. That's the bridge. That's what's going on with the bridge. Happy Sunday. Give coffee. He loves coffee. Yes, I love coffee. The coffee, meaning if you want to do a small little a support, you want to give towards this broadcast, you can do that. And remember back in the day when they used to have the people crying, and they go, for a cup of coffee a day, right? It was it's actually kind of a smart line, isn't it? You know, cup of coffee. People are like, a cup of coffee. I could buy somebody a cup of coffee, right? So anyways, that's what's going on there. What's going on, Ryan? Welcome. I just saw your comment. I have a question. I've been watching you for about a year, and I resonate with a lot that you talk about. I'm pretty sure I have religious OCD. Should I seek a professional or stick to just Jesus? How about both? Why does it have to be one or the other? And Jesus can be with you as you get therapy or get help and work in your journey. There are factors that we need often somebody else to help point out where our distortions are. And that's where help can be very important, as far as good friends, good family. And I know a lot of you, just right there, you go, I don't have any good friends to speak in my life. I don't have any family. I'm all by myself. I get you. So sometimes you got to really take advantage of what's out there then. But even with friends and even with family, it's important to get input from somebody who's got no skin in the game. They got no bias. They're just going to tell you what's important to understand. And my life has been changed when I welcomed when someone, whether it was a professional mental health, a psychologist, a prayer minister, a pastor, an overseer, my wife, where some kind of input has been given to me that brings out a distortion. And I think, to me, that is one of the deep root helps of walking free in mental health. And it becomes a block. And especially with OCDers, we get very stubborn with our distortions. And that's what forms the yeah, but. Yeah, but
Mark, this is really, really true. Mark, I need to think this way. No, wait, yeah, but Mark, my situation is different than everyone else. Oh, Mark, no, wait, yeah, but what if God is trying to tell me something?
So we actually, we can be very, very stubborn in what we feed. And it's important that we welcome insight that goes, because obsessions and compulsions will work against your journey. That's just one example. But even when it comes to depression, when it comes to bipolar, when it comes to schizophrenia, when it comes to borderline issues, when it comes to trauma, it's first important that we always have a sense of relational emotional safety. So if someone doesn't feel safe with me, I'm not going to be any help. So it's got to create a sense of safety, in that there's trust here, and that I'm going to be a safe place for you to let out what's going on. But two, we have to welcome healthy perspectives, because a lot of what drives our battlegrounds is these, Zig Ziglar used to call it stinking thinking. The professional term for it is cognitive distortions, right? And sometimes I just call it goofiness. We're just all a little goofy. We think certain ways, and we always thought that way. We didn't realize that. So So anyways, what's up, Nate? Nate. Oh, no, note for note drumming. Note for note drumming. Mark, I cussed at God and called him names when my car had to blow up on the way to worship practice. I also have been struggling with a porn addiction. I don't mean to laugh. I was just imagining you cussing out. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, because you got stress going on. You blew up, so you're probably beating yourself up now. Kindness and grace is important. Otherwise, you're going to keep replaying, and trying to fix and all those things. I talk about addictions and porn addictions and many of the questions that I've answered in the past. You can check that stuff out. Do you think Jesus is coming back in our lifetime? I don't know, but it does seem like the world is changing a lot, right? But whatever you think the answer is to that, do not be afraid. That's your recipe for the days we're living in. You want a word from God? You want a word from God. Do not be afraid. There you go. There you go. So anyways, all right, well, the comments are off to the races, and I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go over this way, because that's the, hold on, I got to change my ears out here. Give me 1 second. And like I said, please forgive me if there's any handling noise as I'm moving with this mic. So if you got headphones on, but yeah, this is where you're kind of used to seeing me over here. So I was just at my desk and moved around this way. And this is my backdrop here that I can change out. I actually have a wood look behind this. Over the years, I have backdrops like white, black, gray. I can pull down, stuff like that. It's fun. And then got these lights hanging up here and stuff like that going on. But this is where you're used to me talking and bringing you insights from over here, because I like to stand up and sometimes use a whiteboard and talk this way. And it's a great way to explain things as a teacher. It's a way that you can express yourself differently than with slides, right? So when I develop content, I'll tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about what I do. When I develop content, it starts a long time ago, meaning something I could be teaching on this week could have began in the incubator months or even years ago. And so I take a lot of notes and I organize them by topic. And I just start to develop and develop and develop, and I work through it and I work through it and I grow through it. And so I go week to week though. Each week, I kind of look at the week, at what's happening, and I go, okay, what's going on in my family? What's going on in my life? And how can I express what God's put in my life in the best way possible, right? And so that's why sometimes each week has unique things that come out, or I may do a Q&A, or I may do, I try to find the best way for me to express what I feel is important. Then there's times where I'll just get like a word. I go, man, this thing is explosive. And I'll go, I'll put this out today, right? So this is kind of some of the stuff I want to talk about where I feel like I'm going this year and what I'll be discussing, what I'll be bringing out. Obviously, the biggest thing is I'm going to be launching the OCD book, the OCD Healing Journey, and really getting that out, getting the word out about that in every way, shape, and form that I can. But what I hope to do after the launch of the book, after it's had some time to get out there, is some form of community that I hope to develop. And what I mean by that is right now I do one-on-one coaching, and I offer that, but it's been on my heart for quite a while to move more to a place where I can help a group of people. Because one of the things I love doing is I love answering questions and taking questions and jumping into your journey for a bit and just speaking, like if you're on a path somewhere, you get a little lost. Sometimes if you just have a tour guide or a park ranger step in and they just give you some input and spend just a little bit of time with you can make a big difference. But anyways, I want to foster a online community of some kind where this is for people that want to go next level. That they're like, what you talk about, what you teach on, Mark, I want that in my life more. And I want to make an investment. So the OCD book is really going to be the launch of this. It's going to be some kind of healing and freedom online community. You have access to lives and things that I'm going to do with that community, with that group of people. So that is something amazing to look forward this year. And if I did just that, that'd be awesome. So I'm looking forward to this whole year. So I'll be teaching every week something about obsessive compulsive issues, struggles, battles, questions. There'll also be, I'll be referring people to the book, and then I will be building book material, like the training course of the book material is actually gonna be in that format, where we're gonna have some kind of thing that you can join. So I also wanna continue what I've been doing in the area of perfectionism, especially religious perfectionism. All you that struggle with OCD, you've got this perfectionism that's a nasty enemy. And I'm going to get into religious perfectionism. I think even this week or in the next couple of weeks, going to do some stuff on, am I reading the Bible just right? Am I praying just right? Am I doing all these just right things that we're always trying to follow? My thoughts, it's just right and all that. And that could be a book. That I'm toying with that being its own book topic. Laud will and the creek don't rise. I would like to do some work on trauma, although it may be towards the end of the year, maybe moving into next year. We'll see. But I want to talk about trauma, PTSD, complex trauma, ministry trauma. I want to get into how so many people have been raised by narcissists. That's the narc thing. It's not an undercover drug agent. When I say narc, I mean a narcissist. But anyway, just really unraveling how there's been so much narcissism that's been parenting the generations and what that's producing in our lives. Series on stuff, some more stuff on shame. And I also feel very strongly in my heart, in my coaching work, the word sobriety. I want to teach sobriety in a way that I don't see it taught. And when the Bible talks about sobriety, it's not just talking about not being drunk or not being intoxicated. We think of sobriety as that. I haven't had a drink, or I haven't been drunk, or whatever. And being sober is way more than that. And I want to talk about the things that we spiral in, like when we spinning out keeps us from being sober. We're spinning out about something. When we live in denial, we're defensive about things, and we have pride and stubbornness that kicks up. That keeps us out of sobriety. When we're ruminating, when we are living compulsively, it doesn't allow us to be sober. Sobriety lets us to see things for what they are, not worse than they are, not pretending it's not there, seeing it for what it is, so that then we can walk the journey and walk the fight that we need to fight in a fruitful way. So those are some of the things I'm going to be chatting about. Some of these down here are going to be more long form possibly. And what I was thinking, this is an idea I'm working with, is taking my Sunday Night Live, my Brother from Another Mother Sunday Night Lives, and doing it every other week, where one week I'll do questions, and the next week I'll do like a featured teaching. And a lot of it is going to be around mental health. Should I take medication? I want to walk through grounded understandings on these things. Do I need a diagnosis? Do I have to have a diagnosis for me to be able to walk free? What about getting help? Whether it's prayer ministry, pastoral ministry, or therapy, what does it look like for me to actually get help? What kind of help should I get? What should I do? And what about Christians in psychology? Should we even bother? Is there influences of psychology that are not of God and that we need to be aware of? What do we do with that? How do we live that out? I also want to do some biblical mental health profiles. What does that mean? That means I'm going to walk you through the Bible in some characters, and I'm going to break you down their mental health journey. I told you, mental health is all throughout the Bible. We just need to be able to see it. So I'll talk to you about David. We'll talk to you about Joseph. I'll talk to you about Elijah. I'll talk to you about Timothy. I'll talk to you about a number of situations where we could look at what they battled, how God dealt with them, and how we can learn in our own journey. I want to do some work on people pleasing, false responsibility, false burden bearing. I want to do some historical looks too, because many of you can think this, I'm having depression. Depression seems like it's growing, and maybe and some of the stats seem to show that. Is it really, or has it always been there? We just had different names for it. Has anxiety always been around as a battle, but we just had different names for it? Those are some things. And so anxiety and depression are going to be always themes that are going to be here throughout the whole process. So yeah, so this is my standing spot. And I'm trying to think anything else. Maybe I can go over to the other side over here. Let me take you for a second over to my fear station. I showed this, it was at another spot in the, let's see here. So right now I'm over here and I'm gonna go that way. So I just went that way. Now I'm gonna head over this way. And this is my fear station. Again, hopefully this mic isn't making too much noise when I move around, because they are sensitive. This mic is like the rest of us. It's very sensitive. So this is my fear station, and it is, hold on. This over here is what you're used to seeing when I do the broadcast. Let me shut that light off, get the glare off here. So to me, this picture is awesome. It's always gripped me. And in some ways, I look at these guys hanging out they're in some skyscraper, having lunch. I don't know, this guy looks like he's having donuts. I don't know, somebody's having a cigarette. They got bakery stuff. They're having coffee. He's smiling. He's looking at the camera guy. He's giggling. What do they all have in common? They're not freaking out. And so we as believers, we start off going, man, I got this anxiety. I got this issue. I got OCD, whatever. And we're trying to get over it. And what we do is we often want to go to safety, but then we want a bubble. And there is a place in God where we learn to be loved by our Father, but we also learn to step out. And I've been learning in my life how to walk in both together. He loves me, he's got my back, take a step, right? Because sometimes we're like, okay, I want to learn God's love, but I need the love to come to me, and I'm just going to sit here and not take a step. And we often have to face our fears, right? So this picture is just a great picture because it shows these guys are not being lackadaisical about where they are. They're sober, but they know how to live in that arena. And I want to live in a place where I become more comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I was sharing with my family today a word that I felt like was for us, and maybe it's for you, is that phrase, if God is for us, who can be against us? If God is for us, what can fear do? If God is for us, what can rejection do? If God is for us, what can oppression do? What can the economy do? If God is for us. So I felt like with my kids and my wife, we were kind of resonating with that for this year. So anyways, this is my fear station, that there's stuff here that's meaningful to me in that. This is, of course, a book, I Will Not Fear. I'm not trying to make it promotional, but this is my actual first writing, and this is the second edition. I organized it better and made it more concise. But so that's going to stay there. And then there's this plaque here: "Be strong and courageous," the Joshua 1:9, which we have in a couple places in our house. And I appreciate Joshua. He was just like, "Let's go for it." And everybody was like, "Yeah, but the giant," Joshua and Caleb were like, "Let's go get him." And the other OCDers in the group were like, yeah, but, right? So I had to learn how to let go of the yeah buts and be a Joshua. I think I mentioned this story. I went to a conference for Matt Tommy a few years back, before the pandemic, before the COVID happened, and it was just before it. And I spoke there, and at the book table as I was leaving, a lady who had a book, she had a table near me. We didn't get a chance to talk. On my way out, she said, "I feel like I just have a word for you, that God's giving you a big mic, and he is going to be using your voice, and I have a feeling you should double down on YouTube and just put your work, focus on that." And that's actually what I'd been thinking about just literally that day, a few days earlier, of focusing in on that. And then she also spoke about a word about my wife and I experiencing a new level of romance in our lives. And so that's, I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, I think it's coming up on the screen. So you see the romance, YouTube TV, and the big old microphone. So I bring that there as a reminder. Of course, these you've seen in our broadcasts, Faith, Hope, and Love. And I've been a student to be discipled in these areas. And I do the same with everyone else. I first want to get you rooted in what it means to be loved, to be loved by God, to love him out of the love he's given you, to love yourself and to love your neighbor as yourself, which then builds your hope. When your heart gets healed and you experience love in your life, hope starts to rebuild. And then faith becomes a manifestation because it grabs onto hope. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. So Paul told us, in the end, these things remain. So if you're worried about the times we live in, this is what you need: faith, hope, and love. If you're worried about world events, or if you're concerned about whatever, this is where you need to focus your attention. So this is the remedy, one of the remedies that I point to when it comes to fear. And then I think this is very, very interesting. It's not necessarily targeted to fear, but it's a quote by Mother Teresa: "Do small things with great love." And one of the reasons I find this interesting is because it's an emphasis on the small. Do small things. And my fellow Christians were always emphasizing the big ministry, big influence. And we walk past the people right next to us. And so I'd rather live in the small, because that's where the gold is. There's gold and then there are hills. The second thing is that Mother Teresa actually deeply struggled with feeling loved by God. And it's in her journals after she passed away. She wrote about, and of course she's held up. I mean, she's like the poster, right? Of like, what are you, Mother Teresa? It's like the cliche name. And she actually really struggled to really connect to God's love. So it's a reminder everybody is in this. Everybody's got an aspect of this that they're struggling, they're learning to be loved. And many of us have lived a performance-driven life where we're just giving and giving and giving, and we never pause and learn how to actually just receive that love and to see that love in the way that God sees us. So anyways, that's my fear corner on a copy machine. Nothing really that big of a deal. And I'll turn this light back on here. And so, I can actually just give you a little, so this is what you're used to seeing. The desk is no longer there. But that's what you're used to seeing, is me doing my videos from there. Right? And I'll bring you around. There's my sitting chair. I love that chair. That chair is the bomb. And then that's another station over there. That's my Apple station, because I have PC and a MacBook, because a lot of times you need both formats when you're working with video or whatever. So anyways, that's what's going on over there. So what did I want to talk about next? Oh, I want to go over back to the spot over here. So this is where I've been working for years since I moved here, doing all my broadcasts from here, and setting up my lights. When we moved in, I took this. This was an empty barn, and it had been used for storage for, I don't know, I think the guy who lived here had like model planes or something, but it was empty. Had no power, it wasn't finished, nothing. And when we looked at this property, I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish that place and make it into an awesome studio. So much time later, did the walls, did the doors, did the windows, did the ceiling. The ceiling has an interesting insulation in between the rafters, and I wanted the rafters to stick out.
You have a lot of feedback right now.
Feedback?
Double, yeah. We're hearing you double.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, hold on a second.
Okay.
Feedback. Okay. How about now? Is this better? Or is this still worse? How's the sound now? Is it still echoing? Are we still echoing? How about this? Are we still echoing now? Are we still echoing? Better. Better. You know what? I think one of my settings was messed up. That's what it is. I think a demon got in my settings. So maybe I'll go back over there. I kind of like sitting over there. You mind? Somebody wrote they're going to be a squatter in my... But it was a journey. When I first started working in here, though, I had to get the power set up and everything. There was no heat. And I was like, North Carolina, it doesn't get that cold, right? Oh my goodness, we had it was a bit cold of the winter. And I had a little space heater like right next to me. Because I'm trying to as I'm doing my broadcast, right? But with patience and with time, this is what came about. So anyway, where we're going to go with this area here is this is where my wife and I are going to record our podcast together. Over the years, we've had many different formats where we've... It's messed up again?
You just did it again.
Yeah. Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why. It's gone. I fixed it. The same demon was in that. How we doing? We doing all right? I told my wife, I said, if I pull this off, it's going to be a miracle. Okay. Y'all hear me all right? I don't even know because the computer's over there. So the whole system could be shut down and I'll just be talking to myself. So I'll repeat myself because no one likes to talk through an echo. And my wife's not walking in, so I think I'm all right. So anyway, we're going to record our podcast here. This is probably going to go behind me, this shelving and stuff. We'll probably set up some chairs, and we're going to have some good conversation about how we process the things that I teach and talk about. How do we work it out? How do we work it out individually? How do we work that out together? So if you have a question that you send in, right, about mental health or about emotions or about relationship, and it has in it a marriage component, you and your spouse, some dynamic, that could easily bring it to the top of the list of something that we could bring up in a future episode. So so we're gonna set up 2 chairs here, and at some point, maybe in a couple weeks, we'll do an episode, kind of feel it out, see how it is, and then we'll create more content down that avenue. Right? And I kept my daughter's painting. I just like this. I just like this, but I'm biased. That's my daughter. So, so let me see here. Just to give you a bit of a look. So if you swing that camera around, so this is kind of what I'm looking at. See that? And this is the grand station right here. So this here is to block sound. So I'm going to be recording the audiobook, so I want to dampen the echo as much as possible. I'm sure you can hear an echo right now. So anyways, what else? And, I've got, right up here. This is cool. You won't see that in my broadcast, but that's more for me. That's, how he loves. So, all right, let me see here. If I could, let me put my ears back on, because then I can hear what y'all are hearing, which I probably would have heard the echo and done fixed it. So what kind of questions are out there? Any super chats, anything going on? My wife fixed me up here. How the votes coming on the OCD book? Is it going well? Y'all put in the one that you like? All right, there we go. Much better, because now I can hear what you're hearing. And I can see what's happening. Mark, have you discussed your consulting activities with an insurance agent? Meaning, should I become an insurance agent? Are you going to quit your one-on-one coaching? No. No, but I can't. I've had to reject a lot of applicants because I'm just not able to. When I work with people, I give my all to it. Sometimes when I, do some of these broadcasts afterwards, I'm like, all right, really gave of myself in that. This isn't like, selling somebody a car or something like that. This is not only people's lives, it's my life. It's what God's done in my life and what's really, really helped me, And so anyways, your planned topics look brilliant, Mark. A lot of this coming at a perfect time for me, I think, for many of us. Awesome, Emmy. That's great. That's great. Do you use a teleprompter? Or are you just freestyling? I found I don't do teleprompters well. I have one, and I turn into a robot. It just doesn't feel comfortable. So, like when my book comes out, OCD book, I'll create a trailer, like a simple video to just talk about what it's gonna. And the heart healing journey, I did it in here, and I did a bunch of takes, and I was like, this. So I go, you know what? I'm just gonna say it, hit record, and I just talked. And I went, why didn't I just do that in the first place? So, I find when I teach, I work off of like outlines to just kind of guide me, so that when I take tangents, because I like to take tangents, when I take them, I at least have a roadmap back that I can get to. So I heard your book on Audible. It's very encouraging. He's probably Oh, I'm definitely freestyling right now, man. Freestyling with feedback and echo. How to not spin on being on meds? That's a loaded question. What's your opinion on marijuana for anxiety? I know a lot of Christians are back and forth since it's becoming legal. I have my concerns with it. I have my concerns with it, just like I'd have my concerns with cigarette smoking. I'd have my concerns with marijuana and what it does to the altered state of people. And wishing to understand my relationship with my very sick, addicted mentality. I've stopped helping. Oh, your 33-year-old son? Yeah, he's 33. It's time for him to make decisions and step up. Is there a link between narcissism and ICE? You might have to help me there. ICE? Is that an abbreviation? Or did you mean OCD? And you wrote ICE because your fingers slid. So you have to help me with that. Your comments cracking me up. Outlines and visuals help you. That's good. Tell Mr. Jesus not to say anything important. So one thing that's helpful is if you ask loaded questions. So like, I feel like I'm not doing well. What do I do? Somebody wrote, I feel like the past few years I haven't grown. That's kind of a very, very loaded question. I feel down and worthless. What should I do? Those kind of things. Yeah, for certain people, marijuana increases anxiety. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like people just kind of being like just. It all goes back to sobriety, And I understand for seasons, some people have used medical marijuana for sleep, or they've had cancer and it's pain relief and stuff like that. I have compassion for people in this, right? And remember, this is a journey. But I think long term, we just have to be aware of, are we living in an altered state, to alter us and not deal with pain in our lives, especially emotional pain that we're working through, So, what's up, Aaron? Thanks for all your help and encouragement on my journey with the Lord so far, Mark. It's been up and down, but I'm thankful for your work and love for your brothers and sisters. Here's a coffee for you. Thank you. That's a good coffee. That's a latte. That's a latte right there, right? For heating your studio. Thanks, Lucas. That's great. And in the summertime, gets hot. So air conditioning is very, very grateful. Then sometimes though, I don't know if you can hear it. I tried to compress my mic so that you don't hear the fan from the heater on. It's not that loud, but it can come in through the... Smoking a bunch of weed gave me schizophrenia. So take that how you will. Yeah. Yeah, I've encountered stories of people going on some trips that mess them up. And so what advice would you have about how to respond to fear of backsliding in a healthy way? Well, a relationship doesn't grow if you're stuck on being afraid of it breaking up. So like, for example, if I followed my wife around and said, so honey, we're not going to break up. We're not going to get a divorce today, right? We're not going to get a divorce today, right? At some point she'd be like, Mark, are we in a marriage or not, right? So if I kept bugging her like that. And so a relationship with God is not something that you just slide out of accidentally, or you just, went left and went right. And God is way bigger than your everyday mistakes. And so it's the fear of it that we need to work through. No longer being afraid, which goes back to abandonment. It goes back to rejection. It goes back to not knowing how to feel safe in love. So a lot of it goes to. Oh, okay. Emmy, you meant OCD, not ICE. I was like, all right, is there a link between ICE and narcissism? I'm like, yeah, because narcs can be icy people. Can there be a tendency, is there a link between OCD and narcissism? I think that people raised by narcissists can develop OCD tendencies, certainly. When you're raised by a narcissist, it can go in a lot of different directions. Addictions can manifest. And, number of things can happen, codependency and all that stuff. So it can go straight up addictions in the sense of addictive patterns and lifestyle and habits. And OCD can be like an offshoot of that. I find obsessions and addictions have overlaps. And actually, in my book, there is a chapter on that where I talk about the relationship, because there's a lot of addiction concepts OCDers need to understand, because you are addicted to what you spin about. You are addicted to what you spin about. And so there becomes this programming where you can't leave it. And then when you try to leave it, it's like leaving a drug, right? You're like, oh, I don't know if I can live without it. I don't know if I can do it right. And then the thoughts haunting you. And the way my daughter illustrated thoughts in one of my old videos, where she was like, Abby. So yes, both my mom and brother have strong narcissistic tendencies and struggle with OCD as I do. Yeah. And narcissism adds to the confusion because there's gaslighting and there's a lot of distorting how things happened, So anyway, I was wondering if you can do a video based on 1 John 4, the whole chapter. I've been for years compiling Bible studies that I want to do. When I say compiling my thoughts and my perspectives I've learned. One of them's 1 John. I have on my site in my training course, I think it's Safe and Secure or Loved and Secure or something, where I did a study on Romans 8. That was a trip. I'm going to redo some of that, but I have a study on Philippians. I have a little bit of a study on Galatians, a study on 1 John that I'm putting together, and at some point, not yet, but at some point, I'm gonna do that. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. So glad to be a part of the live stream. Well, Christian C, welcome. Listen to your podcast all the time while I do Uber. That's amazing. Sometimes I get into spinning, but the podcast helped tremendously. Right, that's good. You face the spinning. Learning to face the spinning is good. Don't avoid spinning, face the spinning. I lost my spot here. Thank you all for the coffee. Spizzle. Hello, Mark. Can you do a video on overthinking, unbelieving? For shizzle, my spizzle. Yeah, I will. I will be. Because it's a lot of overthinking, unbelieving. Do I believe? Do I really believe? Do I
really, really, really believe? Do I surely believe? Have I believed fully? Have I fully? Has anybody met fully out there? Fully surrendered. Are you fully surrendered? Fully, fully. Do you know that you know that you know? Have you met my friend called Shadow? Shadow of a doubt. Do you know for a shadow of a doubt? Beyond, not just a shadow of a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Do I really know? Do I believe? Do I believe? Do I believe? Do I believe? I don't know if I believe. I don't know. I don't know. Do I believe? Do I believe? Do I believe?
Stop it. So, yes, that was a long answer to a quick question. Any advice on suicidal depression? Yeah, again, loaded question. Get help into what it looks like to live in the power of faith, hope, and love, because hope's been deferred. Aspects of so many are going through. That's going to be another book at some point on depression and what that journey looks like. And that when you're manifesting depression like at that level, it's super important to go, all right, I got to start dealing with some stuff. I got to start reading, listening, pursuing whatever I can to help me walk through this, to help me to understand my journey. So, new to your ministry. Oh, thank you, Dave. New to your ministry, first time joining live, going to be studying the book on I Will Not Fear with my son. We both struggle with anxiety. He's 22. I want to equip him as he graduates college. Let's give that man a round of applause. Yes! We need fathers that are stepping up in that way. So that's awesome. In fact, I am going through that book with my family. That's a part of our weekly time together. Hi, honey. She likes the Fully rant. My friend Fully. If anyone meets Fully surrendered, first name Fully, last name surrendered, let me know, because I want to know what Fully is, right? Any advice on not going numb? Don't try to live your life hyper preventing yourself. I better not go numb. Better not go numb. Better not go numb. That's not how it works. We don't go numb by like, oh, I slipped and I went numb. You know, I think that being very introspective or checking it's a very obsessive thing. I better not go numb. I better be careful, right? Like I, for a long time, would be like, I better not get bitter. I better not get bitter. My wife could amen that. She's seen that manifest in me. Better forgive. Better not get bitter. Hold on. And so the things of the heart, you evaluate it over time, over the journey, not through like incessant introspection and constant analysis. Christian, oh, thanks for your nice words to my wife. That's awesome. She is amazing. Mark, how do you break the narcissistic attachment to my mother? Like, I mean, how do I break it for you? You want me to break it for you? When I break it, be like, listen, what's up, Jennifer A's mother, right? This is MTD, Mark Timothy DeJesus, right now, saying this has got to stop, y'all. I know what you meant. You meant like, you say you're codependent on her emotionally, even though she's unhealthy for me. I feel lost without her. You got to work on yourself. You got to work on what it means to not only love yourself, but to look at yourself compassionately. But you're also going to have to understand what's healthy and what's not healthy. And I would recommend, there's books out there, you know, Narcissistic Mother. Most of them are saying pretty much the same thing. What's that one called? You're not crazy, it's your mother. I'm trying to think. That's a great title. That's a great title. Yeah, so anyways, it takes work. Oh, yes, my wife's commenting. She's like, we know what's up. So, okay, so I'm not hyper about going numb. It's just that, when you feel yourself getting ready to check out, I just feel stressed. So what happened is when you hit a cap, right? A lot of times when we go numb, we hit a cap of what we're able to emotionally handle. We're overwhelmed. And so when you feel yourself hitting that, it's an invitation to go to a new level in how you cope with hard times. Because none of us really know, we weren't equipped on how to handle hard times. So it's like, all right, I got to learn is it my response? Is it the pressure I'm putting on myself? All these things that we have to let ourselves learn through. So it's a learning opportunity. So anyways, y'all are commenting faster than I can read, but yeah, Janata, you're not crazy, it's your mother. It's really a book. She actually makes some great points. There we go. Is it blurry? I feel like it's blurry, or maybe I'm blurry. Yeah. So it's maybe I'll write a book called The Attack of the Narcs. Yeah, and people ask me, I think somebody in the comment section said something about, do we really need to be, as Christians, utilizing the term narcissism or something like that? And it's one word that describes a cluster of issues. So I do appreciate the term. It helps to get right to the point. Here's what's going on. I know that people toss it around, oh, that person's narcissistic. You'll see in political talks, they use the word narcissistic incorrectly. They mean it for somebody who's just wanting to show attention to themselves. That's not, narcissism is more than that. It's not just that, right? And just like people can misuse trauma. Oh, I was traumatized. And it was like, overuse it. Let's not lose sight that trauma is a real thing and it affects us and we need to understand how to work through it. Yeah. Yeah, that's an actual book. Yeah, it's on narcissism. She's done a tremendous amount of work in that. I think she has a website. I can't promote every perspective and methodologies, but there is some observations of patterns, but you can get The Narcissistic Mother. Just type that in and you'll get all kinds of books and stuff. And most of them, like I said, say the same thing in just different perspectives. And I think it's helpful because you're going to have to learn how to have boundaries. You're going to have to learn how to let go. You're going to have to learn how to let go. I want to tell you what you're going to have to learn to, hold on. What you're going to really, really have to let go of. You are going to have to let go of guilt. You're going to have to let go of guilt. Guilt. You know what this sounds like? There's a bit of an echo to it. But remember those of you that grew up in the 90s when you would call the movie theater? Like I lived in a town called United, Manchester, Connecticut in the States. And they had this cinema called Buckland Hills Showcase. You call and go, thank you for calling Buckland Hills Showcase Cinemas. To repeat this list, press 1. To skip a movie, press the pound sign. Top Gun. Running time, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Showing at 6:15 p.m., 7:15 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Do y'all know what I'm talking? Y'all know what I'm talking about? To repeat this list, press 1. To repeat this list. So, anyways, that's also my Kmart shopper voice too, on aisle 7. Spill on aisle 7. Yeah. So anyways, any other good questions? Where's Truly? Oh yeah, Truly. Yeah, Truly is friends with Fully. Still haven't found him yet. Okay, I'm gonna go back way earlier and see if I can shuffle through some stuff. I'm grateful for your Is This Me, God or Mental Illness video. Awesome. 10 reasons why perfectionists have a hard time with their emotions. Listen to both like 5 times each. Awesome, Ryan. That's great. And Ryan, if you haven't written to me, let me know if you have some further questions I can support. I try to reply if I can. I'm not able to reply to everybody, but I try to if I can. So if I can support you in any way. But those areas you're mentioning, OCD, perfectionism, and all that stuff, it's important we get support for that. Let's see. Thank you, Rich Faith. Appreciate that. Just going back to see through. Alicia, I see your comment there. These are so important topics. Thank you. Awesome. I think so too, right? You look at those things, it's like, and that stuff everybody's, at least a lot of people are going through. You know what I mean? It's like, goodness. Again, if you are enjoying this broadcast, or you like lives, or you like any of my materials, please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm and all that stuff, just to get nerdy for a second. And if you go to my website, that way you can get on the email list and I can keep you updated on things. Remember, go ahead and check out the wherever the chat is. At the top, I pinned the link to my book cover, the OCD Healing Journey. Yay! So, anyways, reading God Loves Me, I Love Myself. Has anyone experienced guilt and anxiety while doing ERP? Yeah, everyone will. Anyone who does it is going to experience one or the other, if not both. Anxiety and guilt is what fuels OCD. There's no OCD, if there's no guilt and no anxiety, OCD doesn't exist. It needs them. It needs them to create anxiety, get you afraid and avoidant and feeling anxious about all these things. And then guilt keeps feeding the doubts and the checking, and I should do this because I feel bad. And a lot of us have a relationship with God based on punishment, anxiety, and guilt. So we live our whole lives trying to feel bad. You know what's something that many OCDers need to understand is that in your healing journey, you'll understand this at some point, but you're going to have to realize that you've become used to chasing disturbance in your thoughts. And when you step forward and you leave your obsessions and no longer feed the compulsions, and you're working through guilt and you're working through anxious, and you'll have these moments of freedom, and they're going to have a tendency to look for drama. I had to get used to what it's like to not have drama that I'm looking for, checking for it. It's like, really? I can be at peace? Wait, I don't know. And then it would just stir up all the drama, and I'd find drama, right? So when you walk in peace and the freedom God has, it takes getting used to. You have to actually get used to what freedom is like. Yep, Christian, guilt and shame has been my life battle. Yep, I know what you mean. And I thought anxiety was worse, but for me, guilt was just, man. And when I learned to just stay on the trail and move in the opposite direction that toxic guilt kept pointing me to, because I would just do everything out of guilt. I feel bad, so I should do that. I feel bad, so I should do this. That's the language of toxic guilt. I feel bad, so. And then we relate that to God. Well, I feel bad. This must mean God's, as though God's going, feel bad, feel bad, feel bad. You don't feel bad enough. Right? That's a distorted representation of God. So how would you describe what guilt is? Without going into long detail about it, because I'm going to do some teaching series on it as a outflow of the OCD book. It's basically the language of I feel bad, right? And of course, there's everyday things that happen. You know, you're in a store, you drop something, and it lands on someone's foot, and you go, "Oh, I'm so sorry," right? But most of us live in a toxic guilt world where we are constantly living out of checking a disturbance, and the disturbance is the language of I feel bad. And we attribute that to God, that's what God's doing. And make sure you feel bad, you feel bad, you feel bad. We give it to ourselves, and we need to feel that. We feed it. When we don't feel guilt, we feel guilty about not feeling guilty. So I realized I couldn't follow healthy patterns of grace because I was tied to guilt so badly. And then I realized that good relationships are not based out of guilt. Guilt it's an accusatory thought about what you've done wrong that needs to be fixed. And it's a trap. We don't actually grow based on guilt. It's going to shock a lot of people. Like, wait a second, Mark, are you saying that we should say yes to sin? There we go with the black and white. No, not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is we live too much of our Christian life trying to fix something we feel bad about, and we're always searching for it. Something we did wrong in our performance. So we're performance evaluating and we're falling short. We feel bad and we're trying to fix it. Oh, you say, people write to me, I looked at something bad on the internet last night. I feel so terrible, right? And then they feed the guilt to compulsively, I better repent. We do all these things, right? Panic. Again, we're not sober. That's why we talk about sobriety. That's not sobriety. Oh, well, panic, right? It's like somebody that does something wrong and then they're panicking over it, right? Many of us live that way. And so we're not able to heal because we're not seeing things through sobriety of recognizing I'm feeding guilt. I'm compulsively trying to fix guilt. And we're really avoiding our broken hearts needing to be healed. God is not sitting over his children, barking over everything you did wrong. Now, abusive parents do that. And that's where we learn to see God like that, through our parent relationship. So, Alicia, one of the things I would bring out too is one of the reasons why God he doesn't base his relationship on you out of guilt. Guilt is manipulative, right? So if I wanted to guilt everyone, you've all seen this in church, right? Where does guilt get used in church the most? Where does guilt get used in church the most? The offering, right? Sometimes it's the most manipulative time of the week, right? Because we got bills to pay, right? And everybody there is giving. So we use certain tactics to make people feel bad. So maybe we'll tell them if you don't give, you're going to be cursed. Or maybe if you do this, bad things are going to happen to you. And you know this, and we tell certain things. And what are we doing? We're communicating out of guilt, and we're building an exchange out of guilt. And some people go, oh, I feel bad. I remember when I was a youth pastor, there was a girl in my youth group. We were at a youth convention. I've told this story before. We were at a youth convention, and they were doing this fundraising for missions. And it was just highly manipulative. You know, they just wanted to get the numbers up, say, hey, we had a great year, and, you know, all that stuff. There's all these things they do because they got their budgets they got to meet and stuff. So at the convention, they just spent so much time talking about it, offering after offering. One of the girls I looked over in the youth group, she's crying. I could see something's not good. And she was, her family was really struggling. Like she'd lived in homeless shelters. And I see her taking every last dollar and putting it in the offering. And she's bawling because that's a good picture of what guilt looks like. It's like you're doing something out of feeling bad, even though giving is a joyful thing. We give out of joy. We give out of love, right? Not this like, I used to give out of, if I don't, God's going to curse me. And that didn't lead to fruitfulness. I give out of generosity now, of just loving people and just being generous and not being afraid of my finances and just having a generous heart and not being a cheapskate. So I see the offering bucket coming down the aisle and I see her bawling and I go, what's going on? And she's like, I just felt terrible because of I went back in the offering bucket, stuck my hand in there, grabbed her money out, and I said, you're not giving, be free. This is like, I'm fighting for people, man, because we're listening to religious guilt. Now we got sins that we're struggling with. We got strongholds we're battling with, right? But it's not going to be won over by just guilt or trying to relieve guilt. Anyways, that's a whole book. I found that guilt is used in worship. Yes. If you're not shouting, singing, or dancing, you're viewed as not fully, there's fully engaged. Fully engaged. We found
it fully. You're not fully engaged.
And I'll be honest, I've been guilty of that. Come on, somebody. I've been guilty at barking at people because I was wanting them to be more expressive. I've been there. Guilty. But I've learned from it. I don't have to be ashamed that I've learned of it and gotten freedom in my life, and I get to share that. You have to understand that the reason I speak so passionately about these things is because I've been through it. I've been in the trenches of it, and I see people's mental health eroding. And I want to free up my brothers and sisters. Anyways, got in a guilt tangent. So everyone just be free of guilt, right? Be free of toxic guilt. See your battles for what they are, right? See them for what they are. And let God work on the root system of your heart. And that's learning to be loved, learning to live in His grace, and realize if you're spending all your days listening to guilt, thinking that's God, it's just going to keep you in circles. It's in freedom that Christ has set us free. How do you distinguish guilt from the anxiety? Well, they both work together. They'll work together. You feel anxious that you feel guilt or don't feel guilt. Fully. Yes, Emmy. We met fully. My mom has ignored me for 8 months and now sent some papers and a note saying that's because of my aggressiveness and she needs time. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, the worship leader wanting to hype you up. Yeah, we've all been there, right? Mark, how could I find a therapist for my child with scrupulosity? I'll give you some great advice. This is your child. I'm going to tell you something very, very important. Are you ready? You're the most powerful person in your child's life. You're the most powerful. There's no therapist in the world that has more authority than you do as a parent. I'm not saying don't get help. I'm just saying start there. Start there with looking at your I don't know, you say son, daughter, I don't know. Look at your son and your daughter's OCD and go, God, help me to understand what's happening here. I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, because maybe you have shreds of it in your own life. Or maybe you have factors in the family. Remember, not guilt. This isn't guilt. Oh, I'm a terrible parent. This is all my fault. See, that's where guilt takes us, right? You're a failure as a parent. No, I got to sober you up. Sober up. Sober up. You're drunk. You're drunk on guilt. No. Snap out of it. It's not about being a bad parent. It's about being sober to the moment of what's available right now, right? Because we as parents, we have to work on we're effective parents, we work on our stuff because we're not perfect. And we'll have to help our kids out of what we're growing in ourselves. So, anyway. Yeah, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And the little doves. I always wonder why worship leaders try to hype people up. Is it going back to emotionalism? Do you want the real answer? Do you want the answer that I had to be honest about? When you're a worship leader and the crowd goes wild, it feeds that need to feel you did a good job and you're wonderful. It's the same thing that when somebody gets an Oscar and everyone stands and applauds and they're like, no, stop, please, please stop. Please, no, stop, please. It's the same thing. I love the church, but God didn't design the Church of Jesus Christ to just be a stage with a bunch of people clapping at a person up on the stage. Mark, I'm not clapping to them, I'm clapping to Jesus. Okay, whatever. I'm just saying, it's just, we've created this concert setting that feeds these kind of things. Big offering, big buildings, big numbers, big applause, yeah. And so I unplugged from that because I'm like, it's draining and exhausting. And it created a performance mentality. Anyways, I'll get off that tangent for a second. It just as a worship leader, when they're cheering, you're like, I'm doing a good job. I'm like, so when I would preach and people would amen or shout me back, not that my church was a hooping and hollering kind of church, the first one I served at, but they would, a little bit. And I was one of those, I get up there and I'm sweating a little bit, and it's making me feel like I'm loved. It's the same thing that when a stand-up comedian gets up and gets a laugh. Same thing. Now I'm getting all in the kibbles and bits today. I'm getting all honest. No, Mark, it's for Jesus. This applause is for him. Then get off the stage and just, let's get rid of the stage then. Let's see what happens. Remember that story that Matt Redman, I think it was Matt Redman told, and I don't know the church, Emmy, maybe it was out in the UK. And the way the story goes, I don't know all the intricacies of it, but that the church kind of got in the rut, and they said, you know what, we're just going to can the worship team. We're just going to cancel them. Canceled. Done. And we're just going to gather, and we're not going to have the song and dance kind of thing. And we're going to see what happens, see what God does. The first week they come and they attend, and everyone's so awkward because it's quiet, and they're just kind of sitting there. And again, I might be butchering it, but this is my recollection of the story. And at some point, this is where the inspiration behind the song, I'm coming back to the heart of worship. You know the one, because it's all about you. And slowly over time, they're having these gatherings, and somebody would just start singing a melody, just singing out something. And everyone would join in. Kind of brings me back to the days when you read about like the early church, like in America with like the hymnals, there was no sound system, electronics, right? And you just have somebody, and everyone just sang, and you could hear other people's voices. And people in the church actually knew how to sing because you were used to singing, making melody, right? So anyways, back to this church service I'm talking about, and they would just have this organic building of song through just somebody have a song in their heart, and then it would just carry out, and then they would keep singing together. So it fits into the lyrics of the song, which starts off saying, when the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come. So we make Christianity very complicated. We got all these to-do lists, check boxes that we got going on. And it's making us mentally ill. And for me, in my journey, my OCD, anxiety, depression, all over the place, neuroticism, led me to go, I'm just going to go to basics. I'm going to just be a kid and learn what it means to be loved by my Father in heaven. Because I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like. And I want to know. because I'm a mess. And I look around and I'm like, you're all a bunch of messes too. Why are we playing games? Why are we pretending like we're amazing and we got all, why are we posing? Like, you're on the verge of a divorce, you're addicted to porn, you know what I mean? Like, not accusing, I'm not trying to accuse, I'm not saying I'm saying that to people, but it's like you look around and you go, everyone's a mess, and the only difference is who's hiding it better. Let's just make it simple. Make it simple. What it means to just, so in the early stages of my journey, I just would sit in my room, full on anxiety. Right? Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. 10, I'm 10. And I would just get so, I felt so discouraged. I just started crying. Sitting in my room by myself, and I just let the tears flow. And then I would just start making melody. And I just start singing out. And I remember I was working at a church. I was in charge of music and church productions and all this stuff. If I listed it all out, it would give you a headache. And one of the cool things, though, is that, with keys to the building and all the equipment, I would go in late at night. I'd sit at the piano. I don't play piano performance, but I know chords. So I was able to arrange songs in keys or whatever. And I know chords. And I just sit there. And I would just play chords, and I would just sing melody unto God, full of anxiety. Sometimes it would make the anxiety settle. Other times, the spinnies were still there. But I just learned to pour out my heart. That's my journey. And it got me sick of the performance structure that we live in. So this got a little tricky because I'd go to choir rehearsal and I started sharing. I said, hey, can I just take 5 minutes to just, share a word with you guys? Next thing you know, I'd share, and an hour later, we're all on our knees worshiping God. We haven't practiced anything, right? And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I just wanted to share a few things. And God shows up. Not that God wasn't there. You know what I mean when I say God shows up. God showed up. Wait, where was he? And it was just a heart-connected time of, I saw people want an authentic relationship with God. And we're offering people McDonald's when they need nutrition. They're crying out for nutrition, and we're sending them through the drive-thru. So, anyways, that's a bit of rambling, but it's more than rambling. It's speaking to your heart, So, hey, everybody. So let me look back here before, I'll probably wind things down here. Mark, what does it take for someone with ROCD to want to get help? Do you mean relationship OCD or religious OCD? Probably relationship. My ex-boyfriend is stuck, almost 40. Well, he's got to want it. He's got to want to get well. What about frustration of circumstances then leads to guilt? I don't know. I'd have to hear more of what you're talking about. I do have guilt for doing exposure therapy on actually saying blasphemous phrases like Jesus is cursed, etc. Exposure is designed to lessen the anxiety over something. So, Jacob, you're confusing respect for having a sobriety about sin. We're talking about being anxious of sin. God does not call you to be anxious about sin. You're not to be afraid of anxiously afraid of sin, the devil, demons, death, darkness. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Include that in there. So exposure works you through no longer being afraid of the subject. So now you can see it in context, because OCDers they hyperventilate over something. So the answer to it doesn't make you numb to it. You're not being desensitized in the sense of, oh, sin is okay. No, it's just you're no longer afraid of it. I run into this a lot, even like people who with deliverance ministries. They teach people that, like they treat evil spirits like cooties, Oh, evil spirit, oh, this thing happened, right? And we treat it like cooties. Remember when we were kids, they call it cootie. Oh, you got cooties, Oh, man. Yeah, Jacob, I'm starting to think intrusive thoughts are everyone's battles. Me too, man. I feel like we really need to educate believers and everyone really in understanding how intrusive thoughts work, because we're treating them like it's either an evil spirit or something that we need to chase down, and it makes it worse. So, all truth, no rambling. You're saving lives. Thank you, Rich Faith. Your faith is rich. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, Emmy. When we get all messed up, we do the wobble wobble. We get a bit wobbly. Lourdes, great to see you. Oh, Jacob, you said my bad. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Jacob. It's all good in the hood. Lourdes, your content has changed my life. I tell everyone about you and share your videos. Just don't tell too many people, okay? I just finished the chapter on shame and God loves me and I love myself. So eye-opening and freeing. That's awesome. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I remember Jennifer, I remember the age of cooties, how everyone needed cootie spray. Right. Right. Like, does anybody know cooties? Is this something I made up? Right? Don't leave me hanging. So, okay. Yeah, so I'm glad, was it Katie? I'm glad, Katie, that touched. I could cry just thinking about it right now, because that desperation leads you to go, okay, God. And even to this day, there's that compass in my heart that I recalibrate back to, of just simply learning to be loved by him. Because if I'm in a rough spot, if I'm struggling on a certain day, it's usually I just need to go back to the basics. Be loved, let go, get out of guilt, let go of anxiety, like practice the things I've learned. It all goes back to the simplicity. Anyways, again, I don't mean to hate on the church. I don't mean to hate on the institutional church, but I got to talk about this stuff because people are losing their minds, and we just keep doing the same old. Student of life, thank you. You just gave me another latte. I'm gonna be so buzzing with lattes tonight. It's awesome. This is great. I love you guys. I'm looking forward to a good new year. Again, if you want to know what's happening, I try to let people know about scheduled stuff. If you subscribe and click the notification bell, it'll let you know something's out or something's happening. And again, if you hit like, that helps a lot too. And again, if you want to be a supporter, there's no pressure. I don't pressure people over finances or money, but I'm the kind of person that I like to support stuff that helps me. I like to buy their books. I like to, whatever. And so I'll give you an opportunity to do that. But anyways, I think I showed you what's up here. Showed you my fear station. Showed you where we're going to do our podcast, my wife and I, at some point. We got to get that set up. It's going to take some time. You'll see some more stuff happening over there. And yeah, but I think this kind of tied in the room nicely. This very warm feeling. I feel like this is warm. This is a warm space. Like sit with your brother from another mother, and we're just gonna have a little warm warm coffee or tea. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful evening. I love you very much. It's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to being a blessing to your life. If you have questions, you can send in markdesus.com/questions. I will consider them for future episodes, for future content. If you, there is an online course. If you have, many of you mentioned anxiety. I have a course called Anxiety and the Healing Journey you can go into, check out, to walk through at your pace. Please be sure to check out my books. Again, there's going to be a new one coming out in just a few months after I get the audiobook done and get all the formatting issues situated and everything like that. But you can support by getting books and share them with friends and loved ones. It's been great. This has been a great night. I really enjoyed this, and I pray it was a blessing to your journey. So, Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll be out with some good stuff this week to bless your healing and freedom journey. In the meantime, I'm out.